you don't just question what happened, you question yourself. Hi everyone, welcome back to Heal and Bloom. After emotional abuse, second-guessing yourself can feel automatic. You question your tone, your memory, your feelings, your boundaries, your decisions, even your healing. That kind of doubt doesn't just appear. You don't wake up one day suddenly unsure of yourself. It's learned. And today I want to talk about why that happens and how to slowly begin trusting yourself again. Let's begin. Emotional abuse doesn't just hurt your feelings. It rewires your confidence. When someone repeatedly minimizes your feelings, twists your words, tells you you're too sensitive, and denies things they clearly said, you begin to distrust your own perception, and over time, your brain learns it's safer not to be certain. So instead of standing firm, you hesitate. Instead of trusting your instinct, you override it. Instead of saying, that hurt me, you say, maybe I misunderstood. I remember apologizing for my tone when I spoke to my husband. I was told I needed to speak with love. And I began to wonder, maybe I wasn't loving. Maybe I was a problem. Instead of standing firm in what I felt, I began analyzing myself, my words, my facial expressions, my tone. And that's how second guessing begins. Little by little, you stop anchoring yourself in what you experienced and start measuring yourself against someone else's comfort. And when that happens repeatedly, it creates something deeper, internal confusion. One of the deepest effects of emotional abuse is gaslighting. Gaslighting isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, a sigh, a dismissal, a quiet, you're overthinking. When someone repeatedly denies your reality, minimizes your feelings, or rewrites what happened, you slowly disconnect from your own discernment. You start thinking, maybe I remember that wrong. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. And eventually, you don't just question what happened, you question yourself. And that spills into your faith too. You pray for clarity, and when clarity comes, you doubt it. You feel conviction, and then you wonder if you're being dramatic. But scripture says, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Confusion that keeps you anxious and shrinking back, that's not from Him. And if confusion has been your normal, of course trusting yourself feels hard. But that doesn't mean you can't learn it again. After conflict, you learn something. You learn it's safer to question yourself than to question the dynamic. So instead of asking, was that fair? You ask, was I too harsh? Instead of saying, that hurt me, you start wondering how you could have said it better. Your focus slowly shifts from what you experienced to how they reacted. And when that becomes your pattern, self-doubt can start to feel responsible, like you're just trying to be careful or trying to keep the peace. But constantly shrinking yourself to keep the peace makes trusting yourself feel unfamiliar. And that's why relearning self-trust is slow. This is where faith becomes so powerful. Psalm 23:3 says, He restores my soul. Restoration isn't just about your emotions. It includes discernment, your voice, your internal compass. Rebuilding self-trust is saying what you feel even if your voice shakes, making decisions without immediately over-explaining them, not rushing to apologize when you didn't do anything wrong, sitting with discomfort without assuming that you were the problem. And it will feel weird at first, but healing teaches you that peace doesn't require you to shrink. I didn't feel strong right away when I started choosing differently. Sometimes it felt uneasy, and I had to learn that feeling uneasy just meant I was breaking an old pattern. I wasn't used to putting myself first. Beginning to trust yourself again starts small. You pause before you immediately correct yourself. You ask, is this guilt or is this conditioning? You write down what actually happened, not what you were told happened. You pray for wisdom, and instead of looking for anxiety, you look for peace. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, and it will be given. God doesn't give you wisdom and then shame you for using it. The more you practice that, the more your voice begins to steady. And over time, you begin to feel more grounded in your own decisions. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just standing in what you know. When you find yourself constantly replaying conversations, hesitating before you speak, or feeling anxious after choosing yourself, you're not unstable. You're healing from being destabilized. Second guessing isn't who you are. It's something that you learned in order to survive. And what was learned can be unlearned. Slowly, through truth, through boundaries, and through faith, you will begin to recognize your own voice again. Until next time, please take care and be patient with the voice that's learning to trust again. Bye.